I know normally that we have Wine on Wine Wednesday, hence the name, but baby, it's time to sip some tea. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, Ashley J, and it is another Wine Wednesday, but hold on. This particular topic that I'm going to be talking about, this is what we need. So yeah, we're going to be sipping some tea today because of the topic that I'm going to be talking to you guys about. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's cheers and let's go ahead and take a sip. Okay, so normally what I would be talking to you guys about today is like your typical real estate stuff, you know, advice, tips, all that kind of stuff. Today is still in that realm, but I need to add a little bit of tea to it. This is why. This week, I pretty much had to terminate a client. My first time ever having to do that. Now, I will say this, that I feel bad about doing it somewhat, but this is what I will say. This is for buyers, sellers, as well as realtors. You have to understand that you're not supposed to work with everybody. Everybody is not going to have your best interest at heart. Everybody is not going to work in the way that you do. And everybody that's involved in the transaction is not necessarily going to be someone that is working hard to get your client to the closing table. That's a problem. So let me go ahead and tell you guys the basic thing that you want to understand, whether you are a realtor, a buyer, or a seller. Understand that you do not have to work with everybody that comes your way. You do not. If you feel on any side that this particular person does not have your best interest at heart and is not going to work as efficiently and quickly and as directly as you need them to be in order to get you to the closing table and get the transaction completely done, it's okay to break those ties. And that's something I had to tell myself for this particular situation. So let me start from the beginning. One of the things with this particular transaction that occurred is that, unfortunately, the lender is not necessarily a person that operates the way that I operate. So when it comes to working with me as your realtor, this is how I operate. I'm a very direct person. I want to make sure that we get you to the table, but I'm very honest, I'm very direct, and I make sure that I tell you every single thing that you need to know in order for you to get where you need to get, which is to the closing table and getting those keys in your hand. And sometimes directness is taken in a way where they're just like, okay, I'm still going to do what I want to. As a client, you're more than welcome to do whatever it is that you want to. But if things are not working the way that you want them to, you might have to step back and ask yourself, well, did I listen to the person that is supposed to be guiding me on this entire journey? So this is what happened. Like I said, the lender was not necessarily operating the way that I do. Communication, extremely bad. I'm talking, okay, so I've been working with this client since probably November. And then come December, there was a change in the loan that she was approved for. Knowing that don't you guys think, just anybody that's not even a realtor, don't you think that that's something that should be addressed to not just the client, but also the realtor? I'm just saying. That is something that you should probably tell the people that are involved in the transaction. As a lender, any change that happens financially with concern to the client that you're working with and that the realtor is working with, it is very imperative that you open those lines of communications and let all parties know what is going on. Let's let that sink in for a second. So that's what happened with that. So around December, actually 2 days before Christmas, we were notified that, oh yeah, by the way, this change has happened. So she's been approved for this. Okay, that's great. Now, where's my pre-approval letter that's showing these changes? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I said, you know what? Let me let the holidays go through. We'll figure that part out later. We had just started looking at houses. Me and this client had just started looking at houses maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've been going consistently every single week. Now, when it came time to us to find a home that we were willing to put an offer in on, we let the lender know. We contacted the lender early on in the day to say, hey, we're interested in putting in an offer for this particular home for my client. We just want to let you know, any input that you have on anything, please let us know. We have a few questions. Please contact us. Now, this was early on in the day. We're talking maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe even 11. It was early enough in the day. No communication whatsoever came from this particular lender. No phone call, no text, no email, no nothing. So my client and I at this point are just like, okay, we're just going to wing it and put in whatever offer we can and see if we get accepted. Unfortunately, there was a deadline to this particular offer, which meant that we had to basically put the pedal to the floor. Oh, bless you. Cat over here sneezing and stuff. Bless you, boo. Anyway, so we're trying to get our offer put in at this time. And unfortunately, we just had to go with one another and just kind of go with our gut feeling to go for it. Unfortunately, our offer was not accepted. It was a multiple offer situation. Those things are happening more often than not. We're having bidding wars because it is a seller's market. The next day, literally the next day, the lender decides to send me an email apologizing basically that he got so busy with so many meetings and was wondering, what do we need for the offer? Well, honey, guess what? I sent you previous emails as well as text messages, my client as well as myself. We sent you these messages, and that's the only excuse you can give me is that you were busy. We got the same 24 hours in a day as any other person. It's super busy. Everyone is super busy out here as far as the real estate world goes. Realtors are busy. Loan officers are busy. Banks are busy. It's crazy. It's a crazy market right now. Everyone is busy. So that excuse to me is nothing but just that, an excuse. It's not something that I feel is pertinent and necessary in a transaction. And what that tells me is that, okay, you are not on the same level of workmanship as I am. You don't have the same level of dedication as I do for my clients. And you obviously don't have us set as a priority. Therefore, I voiced that over to my client. I said, this is very important that we have people involved in this transaction that's going to be taking us to the closing table and getting us to where we have to get, which is getting the keys in your hand. Now, she's a first-time home buyer, so she didn't know any of the things that I was telling her with regard to the lender. She didn't really know the whole 90-day thing about, the 90-day time frame of when a pre-approval is, for. There were a couple other things that she did not know. These are things that should have been explained to her by the lender. Hence me, once again, giving her the advice that if you feel that we need to go with another lender, then we can totally do that. That's perfectly fine. And here's my reasons as to why. But again, I'm working for you and with you. This is me talking to my client. So ultimately, the decision is yours. I will help you find some of my other lenders that are very good with working with clients such as yourself, first-time home buyers, and et cetera, et cetera. She agreed. Perfectly fine. So we're going to go forward trying to figure out what it is that we're going to do. I allowed her to talk to one of my lenders at my brokerage that I'm really cool with, that has some really good things for her and everything. And long story short, you guys, fast forward it a little bit. So I've given you pretty much the foundation and the background of the story. Fast forward, I received an email from the lender basically saying, hey, so-and-so told me that you're going to help her find some other lenders, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. You can tell in the tone of his email that he was pretty salty about the whole thing, because the reality is that nobody wants to hear that you're going to just work with someone else. That's common sense, which is something that I figured that my client should know, but apparently common sense is not that common. And so at this point, I have a conversation with my client and I explain to her and I say, listen, under no circumstances is that something that you should have said to this person. So of course, when she gets back to me, she tells me, well, I was upset at the time because we didn't get a chance to get the house. And, I was just in my feelings, and the only person that should be salty about the situation is me because I didn't get the house. The reason you didn't get the house and didn't get the funding that you originally had was because you let your credit score fall down. Buyers, I'm going to tell you right now, listen to your realtor and your lenders when they tell you that the pre-approval is good for not just 90 days, but within that 90-day period, you cannot do certain things that will cause your credit score to go down. Your pre-approval is based on your current situation financially. Whatever your score is at that time, you want to do everything in your power to make sure that that credit score stays exactly where it is, because at the end of the day, if it falls, that is on you as the client, you cannot blame the realtor, and you certainly cannot blame the lender. So at this point, after having that conversation with her, I realized, okay, let's take a step back. So your credit score fell because you fell behind on certain things within the pre-approval process. I understand that things happen. But when you go as far as to say, well, we're going to go look for other lenders, and you do it in a salty type of way, at that point, that is making me feel that you are very much so irrational, and you obviously operate off of emotion. Not really something that I prefer to work with a client. It's just not. Yes, I'm direct. Yes, I will educate you in every aspect of you going through this entire process to purchase a home. But once you get to a point where you are just operating off of emotion, at that point, I can no longer work with you, because the things that you should have done, you're not listening to either side. And now you're just going and spewing out words and via email and via text message saying whatever it is that you want to say to this lender, when simply you can just tell them, hey, I understand that I'm no longer qualified for this loan. I thank you for that. I'll get back to you. Just keep it professional. Now, did he, the lender, keep it 100% professional? No, absolutely not. And that was evident in the very beginning when I saw that his communication was not as efficient and effective and clear and constant as my communication would be with my client and with anyone involved in the transaction. A simple phone call or a text message from him would have been perfectly fine if he were that busy. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but the manner in which you are operating your job is not conducive with the manner in which I run my business with my clients, period. So anyway, I didn't have a choice but to terminate with this client. And it's not really just because of her operating off of emotion. But what that shows me is that that is a red flag that lets me know that if some other hiccup happens, rather than holding yourself accountable, you want to just operate off of emotion, anger at this point, and frustration because you didn't get what you want. That's not how Ashley operates her business. I cannot work with a client that is strictly going to be operating that way. Clients, buyers, realtors, you are in charge of whoever it is that you choose to work with in the process of you purchasing a home or selling a home. If the relationship is not founded upon principles that are strong and understood, then you can forget the rest of the bricks that have to build up to building this house that you're going to get. It's not going to happen. If the personalities clash, it's not going to work. If the manners in which you communicate and how often you communicate, if it's not conducive on all sides, it's not going to work. So that's my little tea today, you guys. I just wanted to bring that forward because I'm very, very transparent when it comes to me being in this career. And that's what Wine Wednesday, or in this case, Tea Wednesday, is all about, is to make sure that I'm giving you guys information and just being very transparent about my experience as a realtor as well. So my biggest message that I want to send to you guys over today for Wine Wednesday is just be mindful of who you are having relationships with when it comes to working professionally in this industry. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. There are several thousands of other realtors that this particular person can go to, and it's no loss on either side. Same thing with the lenders. Anyone that's involved directly with the transaction for you and your client, it's very important that you have a working relationship that's going to be conducive and beneficial and very simple just for everyone. Everyone has different personalities. Everyone has different work ethics. So it's just up to everyone in the party to understand that first in the beginning before you decide to spend so much time with these clients. So that's my little tea for the day. And I wanted to just bring that to you guys. I felt that it was something very important, and hopefully it helps someone out in the process, whether you're a client or a realtor. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cheers with this tea. Shout out to those of us that are battling this winter storm that's been going on as well. Tea does help keeping it mentally together because it is crazy out here with the snow and the cold and power outages. My prayers go out to any and everybody that's been affected by it. But us in Michigan, we kind of know what it is already. So some of y'all southern states may not know. But anyway, signing off here, and I will see you guys next week. Stay safe, stay warm, and I will see you guys on Wine Wednesday next week. Cheers.
day and night, night and day. All I got to say is